So 6:30, we'll call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of municipal council for the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal for the month of September, the date being September the 27th. It's a meeting that's a combination meeting, both in presence here in the council chambers, and public members have been invited to attend by Zoom if they so choose. All members of council are here along with senior staff, the CAO, the clerk, the deputy clerk, the treasurer, and the director of operations. Just to say that the meeting tonight is the regular meeting for the month of September. Council will be approving a number of recommendations that are coming forward from committees. And because those items have been discussed at the committee level, the meeting will be rather brisk, as we do have a special council meeting with an in-camera session with our lawyers standing by to join us at 8 o'clock. So with those few words, I call for approval of the agenda. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Steve Dillabaugh, that municipal council approves the agenda as presented.
Sessions on the floor. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving then to disclosure of pecuniary interest. Does anyone have a pecuniary interest here tonight?
I'm
By me.
making a disclosure that I will declare conflict on 11D and will not be participating in the discussion.
So Deputy Mayor Deschamps declares a conflict with agenda item 11B.
D is in David, sorry.
D is in David. And have you filed the necessary paperwork with the clerk?
I have.
Thank you very much. Moving on. Delegations and presentations, we have none this evening. So I'm proceeding directly to item 5, which is approval of various minutes of various meetings held during the past month or so. So first, the special council meeting of August the 18th, Councillor Hunter.
Myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council receives and approves the minutes of special meeting dated August 18th, 2021.
Motion's on the floor. Discussion, if any? Those in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. And regular council meeting of August the 23rd, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councilor Cameron. Municipality Council receives and approves the minutes of the regular meeting dated August 23rd, 2021.
Motion's on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving on, the special council meeting of September the 20th, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you very much. It's moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps that municipal council receive and approve the minutes of a special meeting dated September 20th, 2021.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then moving on, is there any business arising from any of those previous meetings that anybody would like to bring up? No business arising. Moving to item 7, which is the approval of various committee meetings that took place during the month. Port Management Committee of July the 21st, Councillor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council receives the minutes of the Port Management Committee meeting dated July 21st, 2021 and August 18th, 2021.
2 minutes, 2 sets of minutes being approved by this resolution. Discussion, if any? Just one thing I wanted to point out. On page 21 of 187, it says that that I met with, I think it says the proponents of pellet plant. And actually, these were people that were talking about putting a proposal forward. Excuse me, having some trouble here. Anyway, approving of those 2 minutes, July 20 and August 18. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then going to the Committee of the Whole Community Development meeting of September the 7th. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Steve Dillabaugh, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Community Development meeting dated September 7th, 2021.
Thank you very much. Motion's on the floor. Discussion, if any, questions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so going to 7B, Committee of the Whole, 7C, Committee of the Whole Administration and Finance, Councilor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron, that the municipality council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole Administration Finance meeting dated September 13th, 2021.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And that gets us to 7D, public meeting plan of the, it was a public meeting to deal with the plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendments. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Steve Dillabaugh, the municipal council receives the minutes of the public meeting for the revised plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment Meadowland subdivision dated September 16th, 2021.
Thank you very much. And discussion, if any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And then 7E, Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service Facilities, Councilor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that municipal council receives and approves the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities, meeting dated September 20th, 2021.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. So now moving to item number 8, which is the action and information items coming forward from the committees with committee recommendations. The first is item 8A, the United Counties Leeds and Grenville Aggregate Resources Master Plan. Councilor Hunter.
Moved by myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Whereas the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville is preparing an aggregate resource master plan to recognize the importance of mineral aggregate resources, including sand, gravel, and bedrock. And whereas aggregate resources are fixed locations, not renewable resources that must be protected for long-term use. And whereas the aggregate resource master plan will consider all available mapping potential constraints, official plan, policy frameworks, and schedules, and recommend potential criteria to be considered with development applications. And whereas the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville official plan identifies that an aggregate resource master plan needs to be completed, and the results of the plan implemented by the county's official plan amendment. And whereas following the county's official plan amendment, the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal would need to complete an official plan amendment to incorporate the aggregate resource master plan. And whereas the work of the aggregate resource master plan began in January 2021 with the goal of having the master plan and official plan amended to the planning advisory committee and county's council before the end of 2021. And whereas the Committee of the Whole Community Development reviewed and discussed the aggregate resource master plan during the August 3rd, 2021 and the September 7th, 2021 meeting. And whereas the intent of the aggregate resource master plan technical steering committee is to include mapping of bedrock resources with drift thickness of up to 8 meters in the aggregate resource master plan. And whereas the removal of 8 meters of overburden during extraction would make the resource not economically viable. And whereas a 5 meter maximum amount of overburden is a more economical viable resource. And whereas additional assessment and studies are required for development within the influence area of aggregate resources in order to protect this non-renewable resource for long-term use. And whereas the Council of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal endeavors to remove unnecessary barriers to development. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal requests that United Counties of Leeds and Grenville Aggregate Resource Master Plan Technical Steering Committee include mapping of aggregate resources with overburden of not more than 5 meters within the aggregate resource mapping plan mapping. And further, that this resolution be forwarded to the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville and the municipalities with Leeds and Granville.
Thank you, Councilor Hammer.
Right, motion's on the floor, it has been discussed at the committee level. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, I'm about to call the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Item number 8B, support for an AMO recommendation regarding rising insurance costs. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Council Cameron. Whereas the current joint and civil liability regime is set up and the Negligence Act financially impacts municipalities in Ontario, whether or not claim occurred within municipality borders. And whereas municipalities are often added to claims that are seen as having significant resources for backing taxpayers. And whereas insurance companies unlimited recover their losses by way of increased annual premiums for their insurers. And whereas the Township of Riversburg Cardinal total annual cost of insurance premiums have grown by $38,517.36 over 5 years, which equals a 15.53% increase, with liability insurance premiums account for $15,036. This amount an increase approximately 11% when comparing premiums from 2017 to 2021. And where higher insurance costs divert property tax dollars for delivering public services to the township residents. Now therefore be it resolved, the council and the corporation of Township of Riversburg Cardinal supports the recommendation proposed in Association Municipality of Ontario to address joint and civil liability reforms and rising insurance costs. More generally, which recommendations include: 1, the provincial government adopt a model of full proportionate liability to replace the joint and civil liability, implement enhancements in the existing limitation period, including continue applicability of the existing 10-day rule on slip and fall cases, given the recent juridical interpretation whenever a 1-year limitation period may be beneficial. 3, implement a cap for economic loss awards, increase the catastrophic impairment default benefits limit of $2 million, and increase the third-party liability coverage to $2 million in government-regulated automobile insurance plans. 5, assess and implement additional measures which would support lower premiums for alternate provision insurance services by the other entitled, such as nonprofit insurance receptacles. Compel the insurance industry to supply all necessary financial evidence, including premiums, claims, deductibles, limit changes which support its municipality agreement as to the fiscal impact to joint civil liability. And 7, establish a provincial municipality working group to consider the above and put forward recommendations to the Attorney General. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Premier Ford and the MPP Clark and AMO.
There you go.
Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
And looking at item number 8C, the 2021 federal PILT revenue, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. Whereas the province of Ontario announced that in the 2020 budget that for the 2021 calendar year business education tax, BET, reductions would take place, which were intended to support businesses as they recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas in an effort to ensure municipalities would not be negatively impacted by BET reductions, the province maintained BET rates at the 2020 BET rate for the government-owned properties that pay bills, payment in lieu of taxes. And whereas the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal has recently been advised by the Canada Post, they will only be paying the reduced BET rate of 0.0088 and not the legislated rate of 0.0125. when they remit their 2021 bill. And whereas all federal departments do the same, the loss of revenue for the township would be approximately $2,519.70 for the 2021 budget year. And whereas the revenue loss to municipalities across Ontario has been estimated at $20 million in the 2021 OMTRA, if the federal government does not pay the legislated BET rate. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Edwardsburg Cardinal requests that the federal government and all crown corporations recognize that the province's 2021 BET reduced rates are intended to support Ontario businesses during the burden of COVID-19, and they are not intended to reduce the federal government's fair share of consumption of local services. And further that the federal government and all crown corporations commit to paying the legislated BET rate of 0.0125 for 2021. And further that this resolution be forwarded to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, MP Michael Barrett, MPP Steve Clark, and Amo.
Very good, thank you. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving on, we're on number 8D, which is the OHIP eye care optometry services. And Councillor Cameron, I think you have that one.
Yes, I do. Here we go. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter. Whereas routine eye care is critical in early detection of eye diseases like glaucoma, cataracts, macular degeneration, and the health of eyes is critical to the overall health and quality of life. And whereas conditions that may be detected with an annual eye examination include diabetes, mellitus, glaucoma, cataract, retinal disease, lazy eye, visual field defects, which in brackets loss of part of the usual field of vision, out of brackets, corneal disease, strabismus, crossed eyes, recurrent uveitis, and inflammation of the uvea, the middle layer of the eye that consists of an iris, ciliary body, and choroid, optic pathway disease, and whereas payments from OHIP have only increased 9% over the last 30 years, which has not come close to matching the inflation of costs, which include rent, staff, utilities, equipment, taxes, and supplies. And whereas the lack of funding makes it difficult to invest in modern technology, and newer technology means earlier eye detection of eye disease. And whereas the provincial government refusal to formally negotiate with optometrists for more than 30 years has forced the optometrists to absorb approximately $1.73 million annually in the cost to deliver eye care to Ontarians. And
I think that was 173 million.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is 173 million. I stand corrected. Whereas this job action will jeopardize good eye care for those who need the care of an optometrist the most, and will have the greatest impact on the most vulnerable groups, children whose lifetime ability to learn and development depends on good vision, to the elderly who are at the greatest risk for vision-threatening ocular diseases. Now and therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of Edwardsburg Cardinal requests that the provincial government recognize the value that access to quality eye care brings to all Ontarians and act now to protect it. And further, that the provincial government address the OHIP insured eye care immediately and earlier and enter into legally binding negotiations with Ontario optometrists to fund these services at least to the cost of delivery prior to any job action taking place. And further, that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to Premier Ford, Honorable Elliott, Minister of Health, Honorable Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, MPP Barrett, and the Ontario Association of Optometrists. Do we have a word count on that?
Motion is on the floor, discussion, Finney?
Just one comment before we actually vote on it. The second to last paragraph, and further that the provincial government addressed the OHIP insured eye care immediately portion. The last part of that is prior to any job action taking place. My understanding is that the optometrists stop offering those services on September 1st. So is that correct?
That is correct.
So job action's already taking place.
Correct.
They've stopped offering those services and done that. So I'm not sure that part actually makes sense. So just pointing that out.
Suggestions, if any?
Down here.
No. Okay, so any further discussion? No further discussion. I'm about to call the question on the motion.
Recorded.
Yep, for sure. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
Would be yay.
Councillor Dillabaugh, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Nay.
And Sale votes yay. Motion is carried. Okay, and moving on, which is number 8E, the proclamation of National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps. Whereas the Truth and Reconciliation Commission released its final report on June 2nd, 2015, which included 94 calls to action to redress the legacy of residential schools and advance the process of Canadian reconciliation. And whereas the recent discoveries of remains and unmarked graves across Canada have led to increased calls for all levels of government to address the recommendations in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's call to action. And whereas all Canadians in all orders of government have a role to play in reconciliation. And whereas recommendation number 80 of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission called upon the federal government in collaboration with Aboriginal people to establish as a statutory holiday, a national day for truth and reconciliation to ensure the public commemorates of the history and legacy of the residential schools remains a viable component of the reconciliation process. And whereas the federal government has announced September 30th, 2021 as the first National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, National Orange Shirt Day, and a statutory holiday. Now therefore be it resolved, the Council of the Township of Edgeworthsburg Cardinal hereby commits to recognizing and proclaiming September 30th, 2021 as National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, National Orange Shirt Day, by sharing the stories of residential school survivors, their families, and communities.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, those in favor? Motion is carried. And moving on, then the next is item 8F, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation as it pertains to township employees. Councillor Hunter.
With myself, second by Councillor Dillabaugh, that the municipal council recognizes the new federal statutory holiday, National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, a paid holiday in 2021 for all municipal employees.
Very much. Questions, discussion, hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And moving then to item 8G, the OPG Waterfront License Renewals, Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. The municipal council authorized the mayor and CEO to execute the waterfront license renewal letters with Ontario Power Generation as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Services and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Discussion? Those in favor? Motion carried. And 8H, disposal of surplus goods, Fire and Public Works, Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Cameron. That the municipality declare the below items as surplus to needs of the township, authorize staff to dispose of items through the government auction site and prepare a report for future committee meetings with the net receipt for each item as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service and Facilities. Public Works Department, Truck 42001 Peterbilt, tandem dump truck, sander, plow, and wing. Truck 2, a 2006 GMC 1-ton. Grader 2, a 1989 Champion Model 740. Fire Department 1996 Ford F-250, a Honda EM 5000S generator, Scott self-contained breathing apparatus and cylinders ×8, 10 horsepower Gorman Group portable pump, and a Hale portable pump.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. H8I, the Greater Fleet Options Update, Councillor Hunter.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the municipal council, 1, maintain the 1997 Champion grader as a secondary unit during the transition phase, and 2, direct staff to hire a consultant to evaluate the gravel road network and develop a 5-year plan with Class D estimates, including options to convert 25 kilometers of gravel road to a combination of surface and/or asphalt. And 3, direct staff to include greater pricing as an option item in the 2022 annual maintenance gravel request for tender, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole, Public Works, Environmental Service and Facilities.
Thank you very much. Another well-discussed item coming forward from the committee. Discussion, if any. Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And moving to 8J, winter parking lot maintenance tender, Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Hunter that municipal council, 1, award Section A Spencerville of the winter parking lot maintenance tender to Home Sweet Home Property Maintenance and direct staff to execute contract documents, and 2, direct staff to complete Section B, Cardinal, and Section C, Johnstown, of the winter parking lot maintenance in-house.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any. Hearing none.
I
Those in
believe,
favor?
just a moment, Mr. Mayor, I believe I do have something here. The second, under Section A, Spencerville, the United Church rear parking lot. Have we been previous years plowed this parking lot?
Through the mayor, yes, that's been an area that has been incorporated into that route for some time.
Is that because we use it as an addendum?
That is correct. That is because we use it on a regular basis.
For township work or township?
For township parking.
Thank you. Just let me, bear with me, Mr. Mayor. I want to see if I have something else here. No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, and so the motion is on the floor. Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor? Motion is carried. And moving then to the winter sidewalk maintenance tender, Councillor Hunter.
Mr. Mayor, I have the by it, or the motion here, but I'm not prepared to move it, and my deputy wasn't prepared to take it from me, so somebody else wants to take it, or
Oh, okay, so this particular one is not coming from a committee. It's something that's, I think, taken place, or am I right?
So,
Do you want to speak to this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we had some additional background research to complete after the closing of the tender, so we didn't have this on for the Public Works Environmental Services Committee discussion. So it's coming straight to council. So there is a brief action item with respect to that on page 78 of 187.
Right, okay, so the briefing note on page 78 was circulated. I don't have an actual resolution in front of me. I only have the recommendation that's in the briefing note, which I assume has been converted to a resolution. Okay, so the chair is looking for a mover and a seconder of the resolution. The resolution is presently in the possession of Councillor Hunter, and Councillor Hunter is giving up possession of the resolution. Does someone else wish to take possession of the resolution and move it forward? I have no mover, and the fact that I have no mover, I can't bring the motion forward onto the table. So this item will go back to a committee level and be discussed further at the committee level.
Can we ask questions tonight on this, Mr. Mayor? Or no?
I would prefer not to if we can't find a mover, because the issue itself is not on the table.
That is correct. Okay, I can wait. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'm moving then to item number 8L, the Township Greenfield Global Raw Water Supply pumping station issue. Councillor Dilbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Duchamp, that the municipality council supports and approves upgrades to the raw water supply system pumping station and contributed $213,180 to the proposed project in conjunction with Greenfield Global Inc.
Thank you very much.
That's out. Yes.
Motion is on the table. Discussion if any. Hearing no discussion, about to call a question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, so that's 8L. 8M is the port property sale of land. Councillor Hunter.
and myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that municipal council 1 approve the property legal description as part lot 36, concession 1, Edgersburg, part 1, 15R9899, Edgersburg Cardinal, to be sold to Clayton Jones and Trust in the amount of $95,000 plus applicable taxes. And 2, authorize the mayor, clerk, and port general manager to sign the agreement of purchase and sale on behalf of the Township of Edgersburg Cardinal and Port of Johnstown. And 3, that the money received for the lands be transferred to the Port of Johnstown operational account as recommended by the Port Management Committee.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion if any. Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Now I'm on 8N, which is the proclamation of Fire Prevention Week. Councillor Dillabon. And again, I don't have a resolution in front of me. I assume Councillor Dillabon does.
No.
To the clerk then.
Through the chair, it's just an information item, so I just assigned it to somebody so everybody wasn't left blank. It needs no further action. The information item, as per other information items similar to this proclamation. It was a last minute request from our fire department for October 3rd to 9th be proclaimed as Fire Prevention Week in Edgersburg Cardinal. Because it's been proclaimed within the last 5 years, our proclamation policy states that we don't need council to re-proclaim it. So it's just an FYI and to get it into the public through the council agenda.
Okay, so it's on this agenda in error then.
No, it's just because we couldn't fit it in. I just received the request on Thursday before council. So we
Okay, but
couldn't-
there's no motion.
No, it was just to bring the item up for council as an FYI, and that way it's on a public agenda.
Okay, all right, I'm prepared to move on. So then I'm moving, there is no motion coming forward as a result of this item. Item number 9 on the agenda is correspondence, and we're about an hour ahead of ourselves, but I'm hoping that Mr. Leroy is going to be able to accommodate that. So I'm on item number 9 of the agenda, which is the correspondence, the motion to receive the correspondence. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hunter, that municipal council receives the correspondence listing for the following dates as previously circulated. August 25th, 2021, September 1st, 2021, September 8th, 2021, September 15th, 2021, September 22nd, 2021.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The motion is on the floor. All of the items listed on these 5 correspondence reports have been previously circulated to members of council. Members of council are free to bring any of the particular items forward for discussion at this council meeting or at any of the subsequent committee meetings. So I'm about to call a question to receive these correspondence listings. Discussion of any? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And so now I'm moving to item number 10 on the agenda. And item number 10 on the agenda is the approval of the municipal disbursements for the month of September. Councillor Cameron.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh, that municipal council approves payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated August 30th, 2021 -001.
101.
101. $155,775.70. Report dated August 31st, 2021, 102. $95,490.35. Report dated September 16th, 2021, 105. $59,765.35. Report dated September 16th, 2021, 106. $158,110.87. Report dated September 23rd, 2021, 108. $198,192.84 for a total of $667,335.11.
Thank you very much. Motion is on the floor. Discussion, if any.
Just a question, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
On page 90.
Excuse me one moment, please. My apologies. Go ahead.
I would just like some clarification regarding a location, and it's under Rideau St. Lawrence, and it's about the 5th line item down, Parks, 1700 Dundas Street.
What page is that?
Page 90.
9?
Where is 1700 Dundas Street? Could I just get a clarification on where that is?
Through the mayor, I believe that is the Waterfront canteen. It's the old, it's sort of the old numbering system where the water treatment plant used to be 2000 Dundas Street, which is now 87 Legion Way.
Okay, thank you, and if anybody else has any questions, go ahead. I'm not, I don't think I have anyone.
Councilor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one on page 131 down.
Hot page 100.
Yeah, I guess it'd be page 98 of 187, actually.
98.
Sorry.
Go ahead, please.
Third one down, Hatch Sales and Service Canada. Repairs, $5,316.65. Could I have some?
So through the chair to the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That, I believe, incorporates the annual laboratory calibrations and any sort of repairs to any of those units.
WTP is the water.
Is the water treatment plant?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Further questions with the counselor? Counselor Hunter.
Right on the same page as Councilor Bill was on, just below that a little bit. Ignite Printing says fire department T-shirts, $1,898. What are we buying $1,800 worth of T-shirts for?
Through the chair to the CEO.
Through the mayor, I would assume that is to supply shirts to the complement of the department.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I'm not sure on the exact number of shirts purchased.
Okay. And the fact that it says T-shirts, not necessarily, I mean, they could be blouse shirts as well.
That is a possibility. I'm not sure if it's a golf style shirt or a.
So, yeah. Is there any chance it's a uniform type shirt?
I would need to follow up. I will follow up with the chief when he returns.
Okay, thank you. Does that, so Councilor, you got a further answer coming?
Yeah, I have one more on page 104. It's the Plains Precast Concrete Public Works lock-based bus stop signs, $1,899. How come we're spending $2,000 on bus stop signs?
Through the chair to the CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe those are for the concrete bases that would be able to be used at a later date for any kind of temporary stop signs, etc.
So a further question from the chair.
Yes.
These signs now, I would assume that they're for the bus stop signs in our township. Were other municipal jurisdictions paying for the signs in their townships, or is this a bill back to the pilot project?
No, through the mayor, that each municipality is paying for the signs to go up.
Each municipality.
Each municipality.
Okay. Answer your question, Councilor.
It seems like a lot of whether it's can be used someplace or else or not for something that's a pilot project. I don't know what we need to spend that much money on signs. It might not even last for very long because what the report of the ridership I've seen so far, it doesn't look very promising. So
Further follow-up?
Just a clarification on that same item, Mr. Mayor. Are these for the block bases or are these for the signs or both?
Through the chair to the CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe that they are for the block bases.
Thank you.
Cinder block base are quite large, if I recall.
They are.
Yeah, they're not the little ones that you would use if you're building a veranda or something.
No, I want to say that they're 12 or 15 inches in base, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, further follow-up? Okay, now additional questions with the disbursement sheets? If not, I'm about to call the question on the disbursement sheets. Now, I have the motion in front of me here. About to call the question on the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And I guess there's one thing that I just wanted to mention about this. And members will note now that there's 5 different reports here. I just want to say that over the past year, and it caught me rather off guard. Over the past year, the staff has been quite successful in transitioning a number of our suppliers to electronic fund transfers, with the end result that there's no checks for requiring municipal signature. Well, for those suppliers that are on electronic fund transfers. So the end result of that is that the number of checks that are signed at the end of each motion is drastically reduced, I would say, to probably a third of what it was in the past. And instead, what I will be reviewing from this point on is the sheet, which lists the electronic transfers and who they're going to. And then that sheet has all the backup documentation with it that used to be with the check. So just to make council aware that first of all, the staff has been quite successful in getting a number of suppliers to transfer to electronic fund transfer. And secondly, it means a major change in how we basically sign off on the disbursement sheets. So just wanted to be aware of that. Okay, and so that deals with the disbursement sheets. And now I'm on item number 10 on the agenda. Item number 10 on the agenda deals with various bylaws that are coming forward as a result of discussions during the month. And I'm at bylaw 11A, which is alternative voting methods. Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Yes, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize alternative voting methods, voting by internet and telephone for the 2022 municipal election, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
All right, again, coming forward from a committee meeting, and now let me have a look here. Those in favor? Okay, so that motion carries unanimously, and it can proceed to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter, that a bylaw to authorize alternative voting methods, voting by internet and telephone for the 2022 municipal election be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-56.
All right, the bylaw is up for third reading. Discussion, if any. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, I think I brought this up at the committee or at a committee meeting. Again, it says to vote by telephone and the internet. It says nothing about ballot voting whatsoever.
Yes, but I think the title of the bylaw is an alternative voting
Yes,
method.
correct.
So depending on how you read that word alternative, I guess it could mean in addition to or in
place of.
So I'll just refer that one just through the CAO to the clerk, if I may.
Certainly, Mr. Mayor, I'll have the clerk respond to that.
Yes, through the chair, section 42(1)B of the Municipal Elections Act authorizes council to pass bylaws using alternative voting methods, specifically internet and televoting, mail-in, etc. So this is above and beyond paper ballot voting.
Okay, so in other words, it's the provincial legislation that tells us how to read that word alternative. Does that satisfy you,
It
Councilor?
does, yes, thank you.
All right, so I'm about to call the question on third reading. The mayor's requesting a recorded vote. So I'm going to call the vote. Councillor Cameron, how do you vote?
That would be yay.
Councillor Dillawa, how do you vote?
Yay.
Councillor Hunter, how do you vote?
Yay.
Deputy Mayor Deschamps, how do you vote?
Yay.
And the mayor's going to vote nay. This is a principle. I didn't want to hold it up from third reading at that stage, but I just have a problem with it, as most people know. 11B, moving on to vaccination policy, Councillor Dillabaugh.
11B or C?
Sorry, I've got 11B, vaccination policy.
That's me.
Oh, that's not me though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
I've
okay,
got,
Mr. Mayor.
oh, my problem.
That's okay.
It's
Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Hunter. My
Moved by
apologies.
myself, second by Deputy Mayor Deschamps, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt a COVID-19 vaccination policy, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
And everybody's doing vaccination policies. This one's coming forward from a committee and discussion, if any. Hearing none.
Yes.
Oh, number of questions. Councillor Cameron.
Well, it's more of a comment, Mr. Mayor. I've read the policy. And to be quite truthful, in my way of looking at this, it means nothing, to be absolutely. It doesn't say that the municipality township has to be vaccinated. It says we recommend it, but we've heard on the news today from various places in Canada, the COVID is just getting out of proportion. All the doctors are saying, get vaccinated, get vaccinated, and get vaccinated. And we just seem to be, with this policy, just sitting on the fence because there's really no teeth in this to, even though it does say that there's a possibility of dismissal. It just doesn't seem to have teeth, because I can see that the union contract is just going to take over and go from there. And the whole idea of a union is to keep jobs. So that's a non-starter, to be quite truthful. I just have a problem with this policy. To me, there's just nothing in it to.
Okay, so I don't want to get into a debate from the chair, but I would point out that the policy does provide the corporation with an opportunity to say to our employees, if you're not vaccinated, then we're going to insist on regular COVID testing. And I think that one of the hesitations that I'll ask the CAO to speak in a minute, but I know that from sitting on other boards and commissions, that one of the issues facing all employers is the issue that in the absence of overriding provincial legislation, we cannot order vaccinations on an individual because of overriding federal and provincial legislation. So we can't order an individual to be vaccinated. But what we can do is set up a regime which says that in this workplace, if you're not vaccinated, here's the testing regime that we're going to put in place. So, Mr. CAO, you may want to speak further to this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You are certainly correct. It's come out that vaccination is voluntary for an individual to choose, and that the employer has some duty to accommodate in a very limited capacity, like with respect to medical exemption. It's still a little gray with respect to religion and creed. It's certainly not as ironclad with respect to the duty to accommodate. The policy certainly does provide for the municipality to have testing at various regimes, and also the ability to undertake progressive discipline. Similar to, we'll use the example of where a steel-toe work boot is required, and they're not wearing that steel-toe work boot, right? You do reminders, and you certainly work towards educating and supporting, and there is the option to do certainly more severe penalties in that regard. Certainly with this current policy, there is not an actual date where an individual has to be double vaccinated or else. That certainly didn't seem to be an item that was brought up at the committee level of going to that degree. I think this one, as it's written, provides flexibility.
Okay, and points well taken, Counselor. I hope you can understand the restrictions that are imposed on an employer here.
Yes,
And I saw another, did you want to follow up, by the way?
all I want to say, Mr. Mayor, is that even though I am what we'll say put out by this policy, I don't want to hold it up, and I'm not going. So I will vote in favor of it. I really do wish so we could, with this disease, which is spreading rapidly. I just wish we had more teeth into it, but I will vote in favor of the recommendation, not to hold it up.
Thank you very much. And if it's any comfort to you, I just want to indicate to you that as I listen to various news reports and participate in other meetings, noticeably the meeting with the health unit, it's becoming more and more of a public demand that the federal and provincial governments issue more concrete guidance as to the mandatory requirement of a vaccination. It's starting to spread. But I think I saw another hand, which was Councillor Dillabaugh, or was it Councillor Hunter? Councillor Hunter.
I just like to comment. I think by being the one moving this forward, bringing it over, I do think this is a policy that staff is fully aware that's going to be constantly updated over probably the next 3 to 6 months, as hopefully our provincial and federal governments take a little more active lead in their responsibility to set the groundworks for municipalities, lower tier one underneath them. And I think this is a good first step. And I think if we get the bylaw on the books, it's a lot easier to stick an amendment into it once we get some ability to put more teeth into it. If we already have it set in there, we've already started educating them towards the fact that this is a start. But
It's coming.
let's face it, we're just waiting for the authority to
Go
put
further.
more teeth in it. So
Further discussion, Councillor or Deputy Mayor Deschamps.
Just one quick one to CAO, and with a policy like this, I'm sure, I don't want to know the legal advice that we receive, but it's safe to assume that it did go into legal.
Legal did review this policy through the mayor.
All right, I'm about to call the question on first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
All right, so I'll have unanimous vote on first and second reading, and it can proceed to third, this bylaw can proceed to third reading then.
Myself, Deputy Mayor Deschamps, bylaw to adopt the COVID-19 vaccination policy be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-57.
Thank you very much. Voting on third reading, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to item number bylaw 11C, the hazardous incident investigation procedure. Councillor Dillabaugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps that the mover be granted a leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt a hazardous incident investigation procedure that shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
Thank you very much. Discussion, if any? Hearing none, calling the question on first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried unanimously. The bylaw can proceed to third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Deschamps that the bylaw to adopt a hazardous incident investigation procedure be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-58.
Thank you very much. Turn this table a little away here. Just give me 1 second. Calling the question on third reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you.
Stepping away from the table.
Yes. So the chair notes that Deputy Mayor Deschamps has declared a pecuniary interest with bylaw 11D, and he has left the table. And so I'm calling on Councillor Hunter to bring the bylaw forward.
Myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-78 to appoint members and representatives to certain boards and committees, and this shall constitute first and second readings thereof.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Motion is on the table. Now, discussion if any. And so the chair will note that there's a conflict declared. And so there will be no vote from the deputy mayor. And so now I'm looking for the vote on first and second reading. Those in favor?
Aye.
And so the vote is unanimously carried by those present and authorized to vote on this resolution. So this resolution, this bylaw can proceed to third reading.
Myself, second by Councillor Cameron, that a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-78 to appoint members and representatives to certain boards and committees be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-5.
Okay, and I'm going to call a question on, I'm not sure what pecuniary interest was here.
Conflict of interest.
Yeah, but, well, we should have a talk about that, but we only can, anyway, I'm not gonna get into that right now. I'm calling the question on third reading of this bylaw. Those in favor?
Aye.
The motion is carried. And okay, now, where am I here? I'm not. So the chair notes that Deputy Mayor Deschamps has resumed his position at the table. And so now I'm proceeding then to 11E, which is a bylaw to execute a transfer payment agreement for the ICIP COVID-19 resilience infrastructure stream. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a transfer payment agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario, Minister of Infrastructure. Sorry about that, infrastructure. Sure. For the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program COVID-19 Resilience Infrastructure Stream, local government intake, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Very good, thank you. So calling the question on first and second reading, those in favor?
Aye.
And that's carried unanimously, and you can proceed to third reading.
Thank you. Once again, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a transfer payment agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario, Minister of Infrastructure for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program COVID-19 Resilient Infrastructure Stream, local government intake be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-60.
Thank you very much. So discussion, if any. Calling the question on the third reading, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried, thank you. And this is one of those strange agreements where we were given authorization to go ahead with expenditure before the agreement was signed, but government works in mysterious ways. All right, that concludes the reading of the various bylaws, and so now I'm moving to item number 12 on the agenda, and the chair notes that legal counselor Mr. Warren Leroy has joined the meeting, and will be taking up the in-camera session at the conclusion of the next two items on the agenda. So proceeding to the CAO's administrative update, Mr. Grant, if you would please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will just highlight a couple items on page one of the report, or page 181, the digital service squad. Since our newest squad member, Elizabeth Lawless, has taken over on September 17th, she has contacted 17 businesses in the township, and 7 businesses in the township have started their digital assessment with the Digital Main Street program, and 5 businesses in the township have completed the pre-approval submission to the digital transformation grant. With respect to the Ontario Land Tribunal, we have 2 additional items that have been appealed to the tribunal. One with respect to the zoning amendment for 32 David Street, and the other with respect to the dissolving of the ward system. At the bottom of page 1, with respect to the commuter transit pilot project, the river route has had an average ridership of 9 per day. The marketing subcommittee is working to gather more specific feedback on the frequency of stops used, timing, and what the public is using the transportation for. And just a note that the river route has been advertised through each participating township social media channels. On page 2 of 5, under Treasury, the treasurer has participated in the MPAC webinar on the policy paper relating to the introduction of a small business property tax subclass, and further discussions will be held with the United Counties of Lakes and Granville Treasurer Group. Under Facilities and Recreation, Remembrance Day banners, 5 banners have been placed in Cardinal, 2 near the Cenotaph, and 3 down by the Legion. And in respect to Spencerville, 2 have been added near the town hall, and 3 poles near the Legion and Spencerville. They will remain up until the end of November. With respect to Spencerville Arena, the ice plant was turned on September 20th, and operations are on schedule to open on October 2nd. On page 3, with respect to operations, Public Works Department, transfer site, 2 full loads of tires were removed from the Scott Road transfer site this month by Trillium Environmental, and our consultants JP2G have submitted an ECA application for the new Scott Road transfer site. With respect to sidewalks, Safe Sidewalks Canada has completed the sidewalk inspections, and the report is now under review by staff. With respect to environmental services, it's that time of year. With respect to hydrant flushing, quarterly boiler service by Black & McDonald, and semi-annual service by Gale Power. With respect to fire department, on page 5 of 5, the annual pump testing has been completed. All units performed well and pumped above their rated capacities. A follow-up site visit will be done in the near future to complete some minor repairs. And a second oil analysis on pumper 1 found fuel and coolant contamination. With respect to other, just a note that the EMS boot camp is scheduled to take place on October 7th at Station 1 in the Spencerville Fairgrounds. And a sort of a joint venture between the Township Prescott and the Township of Augusta to participate in a radio repeater demo. And they took place at the Giant Tiger Warehouse and Ingredient sites. And the results were encouraging that radio transmissions were solid inside those 2 facilities. That's just a short version of the min update.
Okay, questions of the CAO? Councillor Cameron, questions through the chair, please.
Yes, through the chair to the CIO, on page 182 of 187, under the Remembrance Day banners. There's no mention here of the poppies on the roadway. I thought we were going to do that in two locations, one in Spencerville and one in Cardinal, as well as the banners. Am I not reading this correctly, or will the road work with the poppies be done in November?
So through the mayor, it was at least my understanding that the banners were to be done instead of the poppies on the road.
Mhm.
There was some discussion with respect to that.
Last
And, it was certainly, I left with the understanding that we were just doing the banners. So there is no plan to, at least at this stage, to do the poppies on the road or pathway.
Okay, thank you, Mr. CAO.
Additional questions? I just have one. I'll get it in here while others are thinking. I'm going back to page 181 and 187, which is page 1 of the report, the commuter transit pilot project. I just want to indicate that I had the post office in Cardinal post the schedule of runs on the bulletin board, which is behind the glass in the post office lobby, to try to get the word out as wide as public. I don't know what the marketing team has done. But the other thing that I would point out is that the report indicates that the goal for sustainability is 25 riders per day. So 25 riders per day times $5 would be $125 a day. And so if you get to 25 riders a day, which is $125 a day, and there are 6 runs each day, $125 will hardly pay the cost of the gas that day. So my concern is, doesn't seem to be a very robust goal. And my concern would be, how would that ever become sustainable? Because in addition to gas, you're going to have the cost of the wages, insurance, etc. But that's a question for the report to answer at the end of the project. But I'm just expressing concerns at this point, because my concern is that we back ourselves into a situation where we ask local taxpayers through the municipal levy to support a type of transportation that we're not presently in at the present time. And we know the problems that we have on our budgets right now. So that's my question. Does anyone else have any follow-up questions here? No follow-up questions. If there are none, then I'm going to ask Councillor Dillabaugh to bring forward the motion to receive the CAO's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Cameron, that Municipality Council receives CEO's administration report as presented.
Thank you very much, Councillor. The motion is on the floor. Further discussion? If any, hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And I'd like to thank the CAO for his report. As most people can see, there's a lot of issues that the CAO deals with in the course of a month. And so now I'm at item number 13 on the agenda, which is council inquiries or notices of motion. And are there any inquiries or notices of motions here this evening? Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Just a compliment to staff. I'm assuming that it's recreation down at the Waterfront Trail yesterday doing the walk, and I don't know if it's just the rain that's keeping the path cleaner, or if there's been some effort to keep the path cleaner, but it certainly certainly great. The amount of garbage cans and benches look fantastic, and the new stone bench looks even better. Fits right in with the natural landscape. So well done.
All that's Deputy Mayor, Councilor Zilwell.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to make a notice of motion that I'll be bringing forward at our Administration Finance Committee. I'll be making a motion that out of the Cardinal Hydro Fund, we will be paying $820 to the Cardinal Festival Committee for a liability that was brought on by the fireworks. Just a short glimpse, the Cardinal Festival Committee has a new committee, and I just don't want them to be on shaky grounds. So I'll be making a motion to at the Administration Finance.
Okay, Clerk Scott Don will come forward for discussion at that committee meeting. Any other notices of motion coming forward? Okay, I hear none there. So moving on to item number 14, which is the mayor's report. Just one thing only, and that is just to remind council that we will have a visit from Newmark and representatives from the Ministry of Education, Jobs Training, Job Creation and Training on October the 7th. And I had actually more, but I'm not going to say more right now. We'll go ahead then to item number 15, which is the question period.
Hold on, I still have to move that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor John Hunter. The municipal council receives the mayor's report as presented.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. I didn't have much to report. Thank you very much. Moving to the question period. Now, we have no one on Zoom, and we have Mr. Leroy in the gallery. Mr. Leroy, your chance for questions.
I have none, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And so now I'm going to move to the closed session. And Councillor Hunter, you have the motion to go into the closed session.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Disha, the municipal council proceeding into closed session 7:46 in order to address a matter pertaining to section 239(2)(f), advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for the purpose, successfully Infrastructure Ontario, NDA, telecommunications tower approvals, and minutes of closed session dated August 18th, 2021 and August 23rd, 2021.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. And so those in favor going into the closed session? Motion is carried. Thank you. Okay, there we go.
Move myself, second by Deputy Mayor Disha, that the closed meeting of the municipal council is now adjourned and the open meeting is now resumed at 8:58 p.m.
Okay, calling the question on the motion. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. Thank you. And so now I'll commence reporting out from the closed session. So the first item coming out of the closed session is the motion by Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh that municipal council received and approved the closed session minutes dated August 18th, 2021 and August 23rd, 2021.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. So then reporting further from the closed session. The second item discussed in the closed session was the issue of telecommunication tower approvals, and the council met with legal counsel Mr. Leroy to discuss issues around the approval or non-approval regarding site plan agreements for the erection of telecommunications towers. And that was basically for the information, for the purpose of receiving information. Now proceeding to the fourth item, or the next item that was discussed. Again, the council met with Mr. Leroy to discuss the Infrastructure Ontario non-disclosure agreement and received his legal advice on that issue. And So that concludes the reporting out from the closed session. And I'm going to turn now to Councillor Dillabaugh for the confirmatory bylaw.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and second by Councilor Cameron, that a bylaw to adopt and confirm and ratify matters dealt with by the resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2021-61.
Thank you very much. Those in favor?
Aye.
And motion is carried. And so just before I call the motion to adjourn, I do want to thank Mr. Leroy for appearing in person tonight. Mr. Leroy, I'm so pleased to have you here in the room as opposed by Zoom. And we did appreciate the time that you spent with us tonight. Thank you very much. And so now, if I may, Councillor Cameron, would you bring forward the motion to adjourn?
Thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Dillabaugh. The municipal council is now adjourned at 9:02 p.m.
Thank you very much. And those in favor?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And we're adjourned.